Hello. Today, you will hear a story with an interesting plot. I have never been into romantic relationships. I have always shied away from everything connected with it. I had friends, a good job, interesting entertainment. And that has always been enough for me. Friends told me that this was all because I had not yet found the one and only. Yeah. I didn't really look for it. In general, I did not have a particularly long relationship with anyone. It was not love, just sympathy, and nothing more. But one day everything changed. A very nice and sweet girl came to work for us. Her name was Nina. She quickly caught the attention of all my colleagues. She seemed interesting to me, but not enough to run after her. Soon we had a corporate party at work. We had a serious company and the director was very generous at such events. I didn't really like these events, but I didn't refuse elite drinks and delicious dishes. That evening, my employees only discussed Nina, but I was already sick of all these conversations, and I went outside to breathe. It was much quieter and calmer here. I like this atmosphere much more. And then suddenly Nina came up to me, said that she had noticed me for a long time and had been watching me all evening today, but she didn't know how to approach me and get to know me. I asked, embarrassed, why I had attracted her attention so much. Nina began to shower me with compliments, saying that I was completely different, not like my colleagues, and snuggle closer and closer to me. I confessed to her that she was also very attractive, and not only I noticed this, the whole office was on their ears and only talking about her. Initially, Nina seemed to me not very interesting, but a slightly obsessive girl. But we talked a little more, and I realized that we have a lot of similar interests. We communicated very easily and often laughed. Her smile penetrated deeper and deeper into me. After that evening, we continued to meet outside of work. Our relationship with Nina turned into something special, at least it seemed to me so. I never felt like this. My attraction to Nina was constantly growing, and I felt like I was in love. This euphoria drove me crazy, as if I was flying. It was also evident from Nadia that she was delighted with our relationship. I was not particularly jealous and did not look for some kind of catch, but I was just glad that I finally began to feel love, and it was wonderful. At work, we did not advertise our relationship, and I was generally not a fan of talking about my relationship, so my colleagues did not know anything. And friends only after some time found out that I had a girlfriend. After a while, we started living together. Of course, living together was much harder than the first dates. We sometimes quarreled, got angry at each other, but I tried to take it more calmly. He thought that we need to get used to living together and soon everything will work out. But it didn't get better. Our relations deteriorated noticeably. Every time I tried to talk to Nina, but she pretended that nothing was happening, everything was fine. We live as we used to live, and everything is fine with us. I didn't understand what was the matter. But then very disturbing thoughts began to appear in my head, which I tried to discard. Soon, we had a vacant position at work for the head of the department. This was a very serious position, which had a large number of powers. To get this position, you had to prove your professionalism. But if you win this position, then the trust of the leadership will increase several times and chic privileges will appear. Our office was busy, everyone had to prepare a personal presentation to give to management. And I also did not graze the rear. I understood my work very well, so I fully expected to get this position. Somehow, while sitting at my workplace, I saw sketches on the monitor of my colleague that were very similar to mine. I was a person who didn't believe in coincidences. When a colleague approached, I said that I hadn't noticed his work and asked where he got these sketches from. The colleague alarmingly answered that, of course, he himself developed them for a long time and exhaustingly, which I should do and not spy on the work of others. This defiant answer excited me. I waited for the moment when the colleague moved away from his workplace again. I went to his computer and tried to figure out where it came from. Suddenly, I saw a letter in the mail. The sender's address turned out to be the address of Nina. I became suddenly very hot because I did not understand why she did it. I barely sat through the rest of the day at work. I could no longer think about anything except what was happening. I needed to get everything sorted out as soon as possible. I got on the internet and started looking for shops with surveillance equipment. I found a rather interesting site where you could order excellent equipment for wiretapping. It was a very small and inconspicuous device that could be easily hidden anywhere. There was a great microphone built in and a fairly powerful transmitter. I could follow Nina from a long distance. The microphone picked up all the sounds clearly. All this pleasure cost me dearly, but I didn't regret it. I was very interested in what was happening, but Nina did not want to confess to me. At home, I carefully hid the wire in her bag. She did not suspect anything and went about her business as before. Soon I learned a lot of interesting things. The device worked perfectly, and I clearly heard everything Nina was talking about and with whom. A couple of days after I installed the wiretap, I heard loud moans in a cold sweat. I tried to distinguish voices. It was definitely Nina, and she clearly did not do yoga. It was treason, cruel, and low. But that was not all. After a storm of sexual activity, Nina began to discuss with someone a new position at work. From the voice, I heard the same colleague who had my sketches on the computer. They dreamed that this bastard would steal my project and that he would lure me into a lie and set me up as if I had stolen from him. From what I heard, I could hardly concentrate on anything. There were so many vile and selfish creatures around me that I did not even suspect. Life did not prepare me for this. I did not know what to do in such a situation. Anger and despair were now fighting for primacy in my head. At work, I had a visibly confused look, although I tried not to show it. And somehow Albina approached me. She was Nina's employee from the neighboring department. It was she who brought Nina to us. Albina said that we need to talk, but in a more secluded place. I agreed to meet her in an hour in the assembly hall. There were rarely people there, only when some events were taking place. I was already waiting for the next trick, and I was completely right. Albina found out about our relationship with Nina and was shocked that everything was serious with us. It was painful for her to look at me and see that they brazenly lied to me and simply used me. The fact is that Albina liked me for a long time, but she did not know how to attract my attention to herself. And then her friend sharply outstripped. But the problem was that Nina had an affair not only with me. This dirty slut was on fire with another half of the office while we had, in my opinion, already quite a serious relationship. I seethed with anger. They treated me like cheap stuff, wiped their feet on me. And I decided to take revenge at home. I tried to behave as I always did. But Nina noticed that I had changed. She hugged me and kissed me, asked what was the matter. I answered sparingly that I was working on a project, so I was constantly tired and my head was full of work. In fact, I was very disgusted to feel her every touch. There was not a drop of regret in her deceitful eyes. A soulless creature lived in my house, which was absolutely too early for my feelings. I deliberately left the project in the open so that Nina could pass it on to my main colleague. Soon the time was approaching for the delivery of the project. I already had everything ready. My impudent, but dumb colleague could, of course, try to set me up, but he did not know that on the board of directors, I communicated quite well with one of the leaders. I consulted with him quite often and helped develop private projects. So this person initially knew about the composition of my project. He warned that our company employs a person who is engaged in vile setups and not work. And at the presentation, all this was confirmed. A sneaky colleague came out to present my own project. He was waiting for me to jump up and start throwing a tantrum, but I calmly watched his presentation. Soon, the directors stopped him and asked where he got the project from. He began to make excuses that he came up with everything himself, tried to spin something, that I had the same project that I stole from him. But the management did not listen to his incoherent speech, but asked him to pack his things as soon as possible and leave the company. They left him a recommendation with Barclay would definitely not be hired for a prestigious job in our field. I calmly presented my project, which turned out to be the best among the others. and the place of the leader became mine. Nina ran up to me with congratulations, said that she had never doubted me. I turned on the recording on the phone from the wiretap with her dastardly plans and betrayal. She was dumbfounded, and I did not wait until she could say a word. Told her to quickly collect her things both from the office since she was fired by me and from home. He told me that by evening, there should not be the slightest trace of her in my life. Otherwise, I would throw everything out into the street with her. I also fired from my department all the other bastards who had fun with Nina. I knew that these creatures were aware that I was with Nina, and they laughed, mainly behind my back, shared stories of how they rock cool while I did not suspect anything. I already had a team of real specialists in place of these scoundrels, so this renewal of the company only benefited. As for me, I was in no hurry to start a new relationship, but simply enjoyed the new privileges of my position. Now I could afford to buy a lot of things and travel around the world, so I had much more interesting things to do than these miserable memories. Dear listeners, please like and subscribe to our channel.